Mark William Calaway, known around the world as The Undertaker, was born on March 24, 1965, in Houston, Texas. Raised in a large family with 4 older brothers, Mark grew up in a typical American household. His interest in sports, especially basketball, took hold early in life. He was a talented player, excelling at Waltrip High School, and eventually earning a scholarship to play at Texas Wesleyan University. But while basketball was his primary focus, a passion for wrestling quietly began to stir in him. In the mid-1980s, professional wrestling was beginning to explode in popularity, thanks to the rise of stars like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Mark, inspired by the larger-than-life characters he saw on TV, decided to give wrestling a shot. He trained hard and entered the world of professional wrestling under various personas, none of which hinted at the dark, supernatural figure he would one day become. His early days were far from glamorous. Wrestling under the name Texas Red, he made his debut in 1987 for World Class Championship Wrestling, WCCW. The early years of his career saw him struggling to stand out. He went through different gimmicks and names, wrestling as the Master of Pain and Mean Mark Callis in promotions like WCCW and World Championship Wrestling, WCW. Despite his massive size and undeniable physical talent, he hadn't yet found the right character to truly connect with the audience. Everything changed in 1990 when Calaway was introduced to Vince McMahon, the owner of the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, now WWE. McMahon saw potential in Calaway and soon developed a character that would change the course of wrestling history: The Undertaker. Calaway debuted as The Undertaker at the 1990 Survivor Series, and the WWE audience was immediately captivated by the eerie mortician from Death Valley. Dressed in black, with pale skin and slow, deliberate movements, The Undertaker was unlike anything the wrestling world had seen before. The character was deeply mysterious, with supernatural undertones. The Undertaker would often rise from the dead after being knocked down, making it seem as if he was invincible. This mystique, combined with Calaway's physicality, helped the character become an instant success. His manager, Paul Bearer, added to the spookiness, carrying a golden urn that seemed to have mystical powers over The Undertaker. Throughout the 1990s, The Undertaker became one of WWE's most popular and enduring stars. He engaged in memorable feuds with wrestlers like Yokozuna, Mankind, and his kayfabe storyline, Brother Kane. The storyline with Kane became one of WWE's most legendary rivalries. Kane, introduced in 1997, was portrayed as The Undertaker's long-lost brother who had been burned in a fire caused by The Undertaker. Their battles captivated audiences and added new layers of intrigue to The Undertaker's character. As The Undertaker's persona evolved, so did his in-ring abilities. Calaway wasn't just a big man who lumbered around the ring. He was remarkably agile for someone his size, capable of performing moves that many smaller wrestlers couldn't execute. His signature moves, like the choke slam and the tombstone piledriver, became iconic. One of the most defining aspects of The Undertaker's career was his undefeated streak at WrestleMania. Starting with his victory over Jimmy Superfly Snuka at WrestleMania 7 in 1991, The Undertaker built an unprecedented winning streak at WWE's biggest event of the year. Year after year, he defeated opponents of all calibers, adding to the legend of his character. The streak became one of the most anticipated and celebrated aspects of WrestleMania. By WrestleMania 29 in 2013, The Undertaker had a perfect 21-0 record at the event. Then came WrestleMania 30 in 2014, when the unthinkable happened. In a shocking turn of events, Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker, ending the streak and leaving the wrestling world in stunned silence. The moment became one of the most talked-about events in WWE history, solidifying The Undertaker's legacy even further. Although the streak was broken, The Undertaker's aura remained intact, and he continued to be a major attraction. Calaway's commitment to the Undertaker character was unparalleled. For nearly 3 decades, he stayed in character both inside and outside the ring, rarely breaking kayfabe. It wasn't until the final years of his career that fans got a glimpse of the man behind the dark persona. Documentaries like The Last Ride revealed a side of Mark Calaway that the public had rarely seen. A thoughtful, humble, and deeply reflective individual who had sacrificed much of his body and personal life for the business he loved. In addition to the deadman persona, Calaway briefly reinvented himself in the early 2000s as the American Badass, a biker character that allowed him to show a different side of himself. He rode to the ring on a motorcycle and spoke more candidly, shedding the supernatural elements of his character for a more down-to-earth, tough guy persona. While this phase was short-lived, it showcased Calaway's versatility as a performer. The Undertaker's career was filled with unforgettable matches. His Hell in a Cell match against Mankind, Mick Foley, at King of the Ring 1998 is still talked about as one of the most brutal and legendary matches in wrestling history. The sight of The Undertaker throwing Mankind off the top of the cell became one of the most replayed moments in WWE history. Calaway's personal life also evolved over the years. He was married 3 times and had children, including his youngest daughter, born during the final years of his wrestling career. He often spoke about the difficulty of balancing his intense travel schedule and wrestling commitments with his responsibilities as a father and husband. As Calaway entered his 50s, the physical toll of his long career became more evident. He began wrestling fewer matches each year, focusing mainly on special events like WrestleMania. Fans speculated for years about when The Undertaker would retire, but he always found a way to return, even when it seemed like his body was no longer capable of enduring the punishment of professional wrestling. Finally, in 2020, after a cinematic match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36, The Undertaker officially announced his retirement. The match, known as the Boneyard Match, was a fitting end to his career, blending elements of his character's supernatural lore with real-world grit. WWE paid tribute to The Undertaker at the 2020 Survivor Series, marking 30 years since his debut. In 2022, Calaway was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, cementing his place as one of the greatest performers in the history of professional wrestling. During his Hall of Fame speech, Calaway gave fans a rare glimpse of the man behind The Undertaker, sharing stories from his career and expressing his gratitude to the fans and fellow wrestlers who had supported him along the way. Mark William Calaway's journey from a young basketball player in Texas to becoming The Undertaker, one of the most iconic figures in entertainment, is a story of passion, perseverance, and dedication. He transcended the world of professional wrestling, leaving an indelible mark on pop culture and inspiring countless fans and future wrestlers. Despite his fearsome in-ring persona, Calaway's legacy is one of respect, loyalty, and humility, a true legend both in and out of the ring.